Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, I want to talk to you about one of the common symptoms that sufferers of PMDD have, and it really impacts your PMDD relationship. We are going to be talking about paranoia. So this is when you go into PMDD and you start to shift your belief about yourself, and you also start to shift your belief about your PMDD partner. And I know I've experienced this so many times where I'm completely fine, I'm completely confident when I'm in my follicular phase, when I'm in ovulation. I've said before, I feel my best when I'm in ovulation. I know a lot of my private clients experience a lot of symptoms during that time. But for me, I get on such a high and I feel so confident. I get this burst of energy. And then all of a sudden, when you go into PMDD, you have this level of paranoia about your relationship specifically. So what this looks like is when you are going through anything in your relationship, you're going to start to feel like your PMDD partner may be blaming you. You're going to start taking the things that your PMDD partner is saying and turning it into something negative, assuming that they're looking at you in a negative way, assuming that they are assuming the worst about you. And this is where the rejection sensitivity comes into play, because you automatically may feel rejected by your PMDD partner because you're paranoid that they're seeing you in a negative light, even if they're not. So the first thing I want you to know is that when you go into PMDD, your reality is distorted. There is a distortion of your reality that is making you see things differently than they really are. And I know this is one of the hardest things to admit to, because when you're in PMDD and you're viewing the way that your partner views you and you're getting offended by things that your PMDD partner may be saying innocently, it feels real to you, and it is real to you in the moment, right? So I want you to really understand that it is going to feel very real to you. And it is not, if you're the partner of the sufferer who has PMDD, do not try to convince them otherwise, because it's really not going to work. It's not going to work if you're the partner that doesn't have PMDD and you're trying to convince them that what they're thinking is the wrong thing. And this is where I've seen so many private clients really go down the rabbit hole, and they end up in fights and arguments because they're trying to convince their PMDD partner that what they're experiencing is not really reality. My partner used to say, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. And the truth is, it is in my head, and it is real to me in the moment. And it is my responsibility to navigate that and to manage that. Remember, I always say PMDD is not our fault, but it's our responsibility to manage. And that's why you're here getting these tools. But if you're the partner, again, do not try to convince your PMDD partner that what they're thinking in their mind is not reality. It's not real. It's all fake. It's, fake news, all of those things, because what you're doing is you're invalidating the reality of your partner who's suffering with PMDD. PMDD makes you feel really insecure in your relationships. And that's where the paranoia comes from, because when you start experiencing symptoms and you know that you're not showing up the way that you were in your follicular days, or even your ovulation days or your menstruation days, when you can really recognize that you're not showing up as your best, you're not showing up as you know that you were able to before, you begin to get very insecure about, why would my partner want to be with me if I can't do this? For example, say your partner is expressing the need for intimacy, you know that that's one of their love languages. Physical touch is something that they really value, and you know that when you go into PMDD, you may not even want to be touched by your PMDD partner, and you may not want to touch your PMDD partner. And so that in itself can make you feel really insecure, because you'll start to think, I know that they really want, this level of physical intimacy, but I also know that I'm not showing up in a way that's giving my PMDD partner what I need. Whether you want to admit it to yourself or your partner, that creates a level of insecurity. So you become very paranoid about your interaction with your partner, because you're assuming that because you're not meeting your PMDD partner's needs, that they're mad at you. You're assuming that they could potentially be looking elsewhere. You're assuming that maybe, they're just not happy in the relationship. Maybe they want to be with someone else. Maybe they feel stuck in this relationship. Maybe they're not really happy with me, but they're just sticking it out because they feel sorry for me. There's so many levels of paranoia that you can experience. And when you project that into the relationship as if it's the truth, without really validating it with your partner and really understanding how they're feeling, you start to treat them as if whatever you're thinking in your PMDD brain is reality. And so it can really damage a relationship if your partner is literally telling you, if you say, I know you want to be with someone else, I know that you don't want to be in this relationship, I know that you're not happy. And then your PMDD partner may say, like, that's not true. I love you. Like, I want to be in this relationship. You're not believing what your partner is saying because you're living in the distortion of the paranoia. You believe the paranoia more than you believe your partner. When you're paranoid in PMDD, you will believe the paranoia, the thoughts, the intrusive thoughts that are going on in your mind more than you believe your partner. And that's why I'm letting you know that sometimes, most times the cure for this, or the way to manage this or navigate it, is not found in your partner. And I know that that's really hard to believe. A lot of times we tend to think that if we have an issue with our partner, that we have to get relief from our partner. And that could not be furthest from the truth. A lot of what goes on with us in PMDD, it's very individualistic. Even if you're the partner that doesn't have PMDD, what goes on with you goes on with you. What goes on with the PMDD sufferer goes on with the PMDD sufferer. They could be two completely different things, and it could cause two completely different ways of managing it and navigating it. The tools that I use for partners that don't have PMDD is completely different from the tools that I use from partners that have PMDD. And there's a very psychological way to navigate that, right? That's why I very rarely give cookie cutter things. If you're my private client, you get a customized workbook with all of our sessions, and it's customized to what is specifically going on in your relationship. I very rarely will give something that works for everyone, because PMDD is very individualistic. The way that you suffer in PMDD, not only does it change from month to month, but it's also different in a lot of PMDD sufferers. Yes, there are some commonalities, but a lot of the things that you're dealing with has to do with past trauma, has to do with your specific relationship. What has gone on in your relationship that's causing you to feel this way? And so if you have not applied to work with me with my monthly PMDD partners private sessions, I strongly suggest you do that to be able to have the customized tools, right? Because like I always tell you, when you're suffering in PMDD, it's very hard to articulate what you need. When you're going to a coach, a practitioner, a counselor who doesn't have PMDD or has not experienced PMDD or has just read about PMDD and hasn't specifically felt it and suffered through it and known what it feels like to dig yourself out of that hole that you go into every month, it's very hard to provide guidance because you're not really in tune with the level of suffering. And I think that's what really bonds a lot of us PMDD sufferers is that we know what it feels like. You know, if I say I'm experiencing PMDD anxiety, we know that it's not just regular anxiety, right? We know that it's not, and I'm not, shaming any other disorders, but PMDD is a heightened level of suffering that you really have to feel it in order to know how to manage it, in order to know how to navigate it, in order to know how to even develop tools. And so that's why I provide, my counseling, because every single month that I go into PMDD, I'm going to be quite honest with you. Every single month I go into PMDD, it's been very different. It's been very different from when I was in the relationship with my ex-PMDD partner. It's been very different coming out of the relationship with my PMDD partner. There's a lot of different things that I've had to navigate through this journey. And every single time that I'm doing this, I'm developing tools that are proven to work for the different phases, not just the different phases of our cycles, but also the different phases of different relationships, right? I've worked with hundreds of PMDD couples, and they've all gone through very different realities, from past trauma, from childhood trauma, from big blowups, from breakups, the monthly breakups, from, divorces, from co-parenting, from blended families. When you mix any of these regular life stresses with PMDD, all of the tools that I give are very customized to those specific situations, because I can say, I'm divorced, and, I can have a private client that is divorced, and we can have two completely different realities that require two completely different sets of tools. And so I want you to know that when you're just navigating PMDD, it is very individualistic. And if your partner is someone that does a lot of research, right? And I see this all the time where they're Googling things, right? Google University, or even using, things that they've heard and seen that has worked on other people. Even in these forums, you can talk about things and tools that have worked for other people, and then you try them and maybe they don't work for you. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel like there's something wrong with you. I don't want you to feel like, maybe your PMDD is worse than everyone else's PMDD. I remember feeling like that. I remember being like, I really hope, or there's no way that there are other people in this world that are suffering to the magnitude that I'm suffering. Like, I know that they're suffering. I get it, but like, this is like next level. When you have those really hard PMDD months and you're like, there's no way people are surviving this. There's no way people are just living their life, having all these responsibilities, and they're just, enduring this level of suffering. But to be quite honest, some months are worse than others, right? So when you're navigating and you're trying to get tools, make sure that you are really working with someone that has literally felt the level of suffering that you have, so that they can accurately provide you with the tools that are going to help you and your PMDD partner. Not because I want anyone else to suffer. I honestly, I'm always in awe of people when they find me, from however they find me, whether it's the podcast, whether it is through another podcast that I've been guest on, whether it's my dissertation, whether it's people that I've just interacted and talked with, and I've literally described symptoms and they're like, that's me. I had that happen to me recently, and the light bulb that goes off when people realize that they have PMDD and how long that they've had it and how much it explains everything, is healing within itself. Because it's like, well, now I understand why this and this. Now I understand why every single time at this time of the month, I'm constantly questioning my PMDD partner. I'm nagging them even. Like, have you ever been in a situation where you're literally nagging your PMDD partner? You feel yourself doing it. You know that you're doing it, but you can't stop yourself from doing it, right? You know that you're nagging them because you're having these swarming intrusive thoughts in your mind about what is really going on in your relationship, right? You may be feeling really insecure about it, and you want to question them, and you kind of want some relief. You want to feel some level of relief from the negative thoughts that are going on in your mind. So you're kind of like wanting your PMDD partner to ease your mind. And that's where the questioning comes in. And that's where your PMDD partner may start to over explain and feel like they're having to prove themselves to you. And you're still not believing them, right? Have you ever done that where you go to your PMDD partner for some kind of relief because you're feeling paranoid and you're like, oh, if I could just talk to them, maybe they, maybe they can ease my mind. But then the more that they tell you that what you're thinking is not really true, the more you kind of defend the paranoia. You defend it in your mind. You're like, no, that is true, because you back it up with facts and things that have actually happened in the relationship, which makes it even harder for you to get over it. So I just want you to really, before I get into the tools, I want you to really understand what paranoia is. So it's a type of thought process, and it is in this lump of irrational beliefs and suspicions about your PMDD partner. Irrational beliefs, meaning your PMDD partner is going to the store and you think that they're going to cheat on you with somebody on aisle 5. And I'm not saying it like in a joking manner, because this may have really happened to you. This may have really happened where you get really insecure and suspicious because your partner says that they're going to the store, or you get suspicious because your partner says they're going to the gym. Because if you think about it, you're attracted to your PMDD partner. So if you're thinking, if I'm attracted to them, somebody else may be attracted to them. And then if they meet someone that doesn't have PMDD and they don't have all of this drama going on, then maybe they'll be weighing their options and they'll want to be with them more than they want to be with me. So PMDD sufferers that experience paranoia, they interpret neutral situations such as going to the store as being something that's threatening to them. Like you feel threatened by your partner leaving you. You feel abandoned. You feel really overly sensitive to them going outside of them, you being able to see them. Or if you're in the same household, you may feel threatened, or you may feel like it's harmful for them to be on their phone, for them to be on social media, right? So you may start to develop a strong sense of fear every single time your partner picks up their phone, because you may be feeling like, I don't trust them. That's suspicious. They keep picking up their phone and smiling. Like they're picking up their phone and they're smiling. Who are they smiling at? Why is their tone different? Why are they all of a sudden, it looks like they're leaning into that conversation? How come they don't even notice that I'm looking at them? Like they're so into their phone, they're so into that post, they're so into that account, they're liking and loving these statuses. Maybe they want to be with that person. Maybe they're envisioning their life with that person, right? So it can really start off when you're in PMDD, it can go from a mild suspicion, like they're just going to the store or they're picking up their phone or they're looking at something, and then it can turn into severe delusions. Severe delusions is when you get into that place where you're doing a lot of damage in your PMDD relationship, specifically with your partner, because you are treating them as if what you're suspicious about, they actually did it. You're starting to see your PMDD partner as the enemy, and you're starting to even think that they're not being truthful to you, that they're lying to you, that they're playing you, that they're just telling you that everything's in your head because they're trying to continue to do whatever it is that you're thinking that they're doing. So what this does in your PMDD relationship is it gives you a high level of excessive distrust, meaning when you're paranoid in PMDD, you do not trust your PMDD partner. It doesn't matter what they say to you. It doesn't matter what facts they bring to you. It doesn't matter if you give them the phone. It doesn't matter if you give them the computer. It doesn't matter if you go with them to the store. They're going to start to think that you're now covering up things because you're so paranoid to prove your point. Right. And a lot of times your suspicions that you're having with your PMDD partner are unfounded. You have no proof, but the proof is in your PMDD brain, right? The proof is in what you're thinking in your PMDD brain. And the proof is also in the fear that you have that your PMDD partner is deceiving you and they're trying to harm you and they're trying to be sneaky with you and that you can't really trust them. That's the proof. So you're leaning more on the proof of that than you are on your actual partner and their character. One of the things that was most, because my partner had, my ex-PMDD partner had, a lot of paranoia with things earlier on in our relationship. And it was based off of past relationship trauma, things that he had gone through. And I remember being in those phases and feeling like there was nothing that I could do. Everything that I was doing was going to get turned into suspicion. I could say I'm going to an event. I could say I'm going to church. I could say I'm doing all of these things that are seemingly innocent. And, he would get very suspicious about it. And it didn't feel good to me. It didn't feel good to me because I felt like my character was being attacked. And that was a trigger for me, still is a trigger for me. If anyone attacks my character, meaning my true intentions, it's always a trigger for me because I have such a pure heart, because I genuinely want the best for everyone. Like I don't have malice or, the need to be malicious. Like I don't have that in me. So when someone starts to get really suspicious, it really hurts my feelings because I feel like they don't see me. It's a lack of being seen because you start to feel like you're competing with the thoughts, the delusion, the paranoia that's going on in someone else's brain. And they're so convinced and you feel a little bit helpless. Have you ever been in that situation? If you're a partner of someone who has PMDD or if you're the sufferer, where you genuinely feel like there's nothing that I can do for my partner to not be suspicious of me, right? Like basically the next thing is, as far as the paranoia is concerned, with the suspiciousness, it means that you're now interpreting your PMDD partner's innocent actions or remarks towards you as evidence of them trying to harm you. You're using things that they're doing innocently. They could be going to the store to get something for you, and it's being turned into, now I'm cheating. So it's like, how, or for me, it was a lot of times I help a lot of people. I'm a servant leader. I like to serve. I don't care what my role is, what my rank is, I like to serve. And so if I'm trying to serve you, my community, if I'm trying to serve other people, family members, whatever, and my partner is taking me serving other people as malicious, like, oh, they like you, they want to be with you, all of these things. Like I take offense to that because I was, always feeling like I'm also very loyal. So I'm like, why would you think that about me? Like I'm a loyal person. I've never cheated on you. I've never done anything. How could you take something that's so pure into your suspiciousness? Right. So that you can literally take the purest thing as going to I remember going to church events, right? And it's like, oh, who are you going with? What are you guys going to do there? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's church. I'm like going to see Jesus. Like I promise you that's my date. Like I just want to see the Lord. Like it's it was very, that's when I recognized that there was nothing, like there's nothing that I could have said or done. The suspicions and the paranoia lies within the individual, and they have to do the work to get rid of them. They have to, when they start to feel like they're paranoid, they have to be the ones to do the work. And so the next thing is the delusions. So this is when I said it gets really severe. So in these severe cases in PMDD, which again, I've seen with a lot of private clients, paranoia is going to involve delusional beliefs that are firmly held despite evidence that is the opposite of it. Meaning we can go in a private session and I can give you concrete evidence. Okay, this is why your PMDD partner is not going to the store to cheat on you. This is why when they did this post that they weren't trying to, get the attention of other people. I can provide facts, and the partner can provide facts. But when you're in this realm of severe paranoia, you're so delusional because of the PMDD, you may start to feel jealous or insecure regardless. And it can start to significantly impair your ability to function in your daily life. This is why it's so severe, and this is why it's so serious when you're in PMDD, or even if you're the partner that doesn't have PMDD. If you start to get so insecure and paranoid that it takes over your brain. Remember, it's in your mind. You cannot run away from your PMDD brain. If you're the partner that doesn't have PMDD, you cannot run away from the issues that you have in your PMDD relationship. You cannot. I don't care if you try to ignore it. I don't care if you try to live in a state of denial. the delusions always win because it overtakes every single thing that you're doing. You can be going to the grocery store, you can be at work, and you can't focus on your work because you're thinking about your partner is probably thinking that you're at work cheating. Or you can't focus at work because you're thinking that your partner's cheating. You're thinking that your partner doesn't want to be with you. You're thinking all of these things, and you can't focus on anything that you're doing. You can't focus on parenting your child because of the paranoia, because you're not fully present. Paranoia means that you're not present in your PMDD relationship or really anything that you're doing. Paranoia prevents you being present. So if you try to escape it and walk away and like, I don't want to deal with this, I'm just going to go, you can go off on your own. It's in your brain. It's in your body. It's in your body. You can literally start to experience anxiety because of your paranoia. So that goes into the next way that paranoia can show up in your PMDD relationship. And that's that hypervigilant. Oh my goodness. This is the paranoia is going to result in a heightened state of alertness, meaning you're always on high alert. You're on guard. You can even, your partner can touch you and you're going to like, what? What is it? What is it? Because you're constantly feeling like there's threats and there's dangers all around you. So this heightened state of stress and overwhelm, it causes a deep level of anxiety, and you won't be able to relax. You can be in the most relaxing environment. I've been here before where this hypervigilant, literally, I felt like I was in a living hell. I'm not going to lie. I was in the most beautiful place in the world. Well, not in the world. I've been to some beautiful places, but I was literally in Cabo, St. Lucas in Mexico. And I love warm weather. I love the beach. I was overlooking beautiful oceans and pools and beach bars that you just swim up to and all of these things. It was my dream. And I was in a living hell because of this hypervigilance, because of what was going on in my PMDD relationship. I remember being so scared, so frightened of what was going to happen next, because everything was so, I was paranoid about what was happening next because everything was so stressful and so overwhelming. And I was just really feeling like, how much more of this can I deal with? You know, when you're in PMDD and you're having issues in your PMDD relationship, there's an endurance level, meaning this is not just something that you're dealing with for a day or 2 days or 3 days. This is like, we're talking day after day after day after day after day. And you start to feel like you're going to burn out. You get paranoid because you feel like, how much more of this can I take? How many times have you been there where you've literally been so paranoid that something more is going to happen in your relationship? I used to wake up every single day. I lived in this hypervigilance and it was horrible on my nervous system. And it's something that I've had to really recover from after the breakup, is that my nervous system was wrecked because I would wake up and be like, what's going to happen today? What's going on today? Are we talking? Are we not talking? Are we fighting? Are we not fighting? You know, like I would feel the need to be on my best behavior. You know, I got to walk on eggshells, make sure I don't say anything that triggers my PMDD partner, maybe make sure that I meet, you know, their needs, you know, regardless of what it is that I need to make sure that I meet their needs, because I just couldn't deal with the criticism and the constant, you know, judging and the just harshness. Like there was so much hypervigilant that I was paranoid that my PMDD partner was going to say something that was going to send me spiraling. That was honestly the source of my paranoia, was that one statement from my PMDD partner could send me spiraling, and it would take me days to come back from that. And so another way that paranoia can show up in your relationship is you start to withdraw from your PMDD partner. You will literally start to avoid them in an effort to avoid, you know, all of the heightened stress or things that are going to go on. You will start to avoid them because you will start to feel like, oh my goodness, the only way that I can survive this, the only way that I can survive this is to not talk to my PMDD partner. Right? You try to keep conversation minimal, right? I don't want them to say anything. I don't want them to do anything that's going to cause me to really get to that place of being paranoid. So you're like, I'm just going to be cookie cutter, and I'm just going to, this is when you can drop into that realm of toxic positivity, right? Where you're like, everything's fine, Dr. Rose, everything's fine. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, you almost don't want to uncover things because you're scared of what's going to come out of it. You're scared of what can be said. You're scared of being triggered. You're scared of that paranoia taking you over. So now that you know how paranoia can show up in your PMDD relationship, I'm going to give you the tools of what you can really do about it when you find yourself spiraling in it and you're like, you know what? Dr. Rose, I am experiencing paranoia. It is, it's causing my PMDD relationship to become horrible, and I am on that high alert. The first thing I want you to do, my first PMDD trauma transformational tool is, how I always say, call your PMDD partner out. That's it's literally my first podcast. So if you're really, I think we have like over 150 podcasts at this point. So if you're really like in it, you can scroll to the first one. But when you're experiencing paranoia, I want you to call yourself out. When you're in PMDD, or if you're the partner that doesn't have PMDD and you feel yourself being paranoid because you listen to what that looks like and what that sounds like, and you're like, yep, that's me, call yourself out. You have to call yourself out and say, I'm feeling paranoid right now. You have to take ownership and accountability for the state, for the mental state, for the way that you're showing up in your body. You have to say out loud and to yourself, I'm experiencing paranoia right now. Diagnose yourself. Don't wait for me to do it. You don't have to wait. If you listen to this, right? This is why I break everything down for you to be able to diagnose yourself, triage yourself, because sometimes when you're in those moments and you don't have anyone there, it's just you. Call yourself out. I'm experiencing paranoia right now. I'm experiencing paranoia right now. That's the mantra. That's the tool. So the next thing I want you to do is to remove your PMDD partner as the enemy. Because you're taking accountability and you're saying, I'm the one that's experiencing the paranoia, that means it's not your PMDD partner's fault. If you're the partner that doesn't have PMDD and your partner does have PMDD, it's not their fault that you're experiencing paranoia. It's not a fault. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility, right? Remember, PMDD is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to manage. So you are removing your PMDD partner as the cause of your paranoia. Because to be quite honest, even if you're experiencing paranoia, even if you weren't in a situation with your PMDD partner, you would project that on someone else. I 100% guarantee that if you're experiencing paranoia, if you went to work, you'll be paranoid with your coworker. How many times have you been really paranoid thinking that your PMDD, not your PMDD partner, but your coworker is looking at you a certain way, that they're mad at you, that your boss is mad at you, you're paying attention to the tone? It's because you're paranoid, right? So the next thing I want you to do is to ground yourself. That looks very different for a lot of people. I'm going to give you some ways that I ground myself. I'm going to give you some ways that have worked with my private clients. But the first tool about grounding yourself when you're experiencing paranoia is we need to distract you. We need to distract you from the thoughts of paranoia. We need a distraction, right? We need to shift gears. I call this rewiring your PMDD brain. What specifically works for me immediately is music. I need to immediately put my headphones on. If you have PMDD and you're not using headphones, I don't know what to do with you. I've talked about it so much, but you really need to start using headphones. Number one, for noise sensitivity because of misophonia. But number two, this is a way that it literally cognitively shifts your brain into a new direction. I want you to be very mindful of the music that you choose. Earlier in my journey, I used to lean into the most depressing music, and I thought that I was distracting myself when I was really causing myself to go deeper into the hole. But we're not listening to Ed Sheeran. We're not listening to Adele. We're not listening to things. I mean, maybe Adele, like an upbeat Adele, but I used to, oh my gosh, because I love Adele so much. But there's a time and place for certain genres of music that when you're paranoid and you listen to something that is so emotionally depressing, that it will literally cause you to go deeper into the hole. So I really want you to I like EDM, electric dance music, something upbeat. You can literally if you have Apple Music, you can literally put in there like good vibes only. I love that playlist. I put in country happy hour. Like I put on Disney hits with my daughter, like something that is literally going to take me, shift my mood, shift my mind out of the paranoia and put me into a place where I feel safe. Right. And I feel safe when I'm moving. So that's the next thing I want you to do, is some form of movement. I don't care if you take a walk. I don't care if you walk to the mailbox. I don't want you sitting there in it. The worst thing you can do is sit in the feelings of paranoia. What happens is it is literally going to feel like your bed is swallowing you. You're going to get into a very deep depression. If you're paranoid and you're hyper vigilant and all of these things, and you sit in that, it is going to suck you in because your mind is going to keep going and it's going to swallow up the way you feel in your body. So I want you to move. And I want you to move in a way that feels good to you. You know, I am known for having an at-home dance party. That's just my thing. It's my jam. But whatever feels good to you, right? You know, if you're on Instagram and you watch me every single day and I vlog my journey, if you're not following me on Instagram, In Love with PMDD, I am literally in my DMs at least 2 hours out of, well, it's more like 3 hours out of the day talking to PMDD partners, just connecting with you and letting you know you're not alone. Like I'm in it with you, whether I want to be or not. I'm here. But I vlog my journey and I do move my body every single day. And I know that it can be sensitive for people because there's a lot of comparison because they're like, I can't do what you do, Dr. Rose. I don't want you to do what I do. Do what feels good to you, right? If you knit, I have private clients that knit. If you want to knit, walk and knit, like, you know, the knitting, like making the sweaters and stuff. Like, it doesn't matter. Please don't compare. Please don't judge, just all the things. And the next thing I want you to do to really ground yourself is you have to remind yourself, we want to get you back to a place where you're feeling safe. Because when you're paranoid, you don't feel safe. It is the opposite of safety. You feel like the world is out to get you, specifically the world being your partner. And you feel like you need to defend yourself. You feel like you're on guard. Your partner feels that you're guarded, and it's not a good feeling. So I want you to remind yourself, my PMDD partner loves me. I'm safe with my PMDD partner. I am not my PMDD brain. Those are the 3 mantras that I want you to use when you're feeling paranoid and PMDD. I am loved by my PMDD partner. I am safe with my PMDD partner, and I am not my PMDD brain. When you say these mantras, I really don't care how many times you have to say them. I don't want you to think that you just say them one time and then that's it. You may have to say them again and again and again and again. It doesn't matter how many times I want you to, this is a mantra that you can use that really catches yourself, right? So when we're going over the tools, remember, number 1, you're calling yourself out. I am feeling paranoid right now. I am paranoid right now. Number 2, you're removing your PMDD partner as the enemy. I am feeling it. I'm taking accountability for my paranoia. Number 3, you're grounding yourself. The ways that you ground yourself, you're distracting yourself. You're using music, you're using movement, you're journaling. You're not sitting in the paranoia. It's not your friend. It is not your paranoia is not your friend. It doesn't have your best interest. It is not telling you things that are true. It doesn't have your back. It's not like trying to let you know what's really going on over there. It is not your friend. So don't become friends with the paranoia, right? I want you to recognize this paranoia is trying to do damage to my PMDD relationship, to my PMDD partner, and to myself. And the next thing is the mantra. I am loved by my PMDD partner. I am safe with my PMDD partner. And number 1, I am not my PMDD brain. So until next time, we got this. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.